Okay, Brian, you can go ahead.
Okay, thanks, James. I want to welcome everybody to the September 28th meeting of the St. Catharines Heritage Advisory Committee. The time is 2:32, according to my clock. The land on which we meet today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Acknowledging this is a reminder that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of the Indigenous people. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? I note we've got item 7.4 will be the Brown House.
Yeah, so we'll insert the grant application for the Brown Homestead, 7.4. So we'll do that before we have the museum discussion, because we're going to be bringing in Adrian Petrie for that, and I just thought it makes sense to arrange things that way.
Yeah. So we don't have any other changes to the agenda?
Nope, we shouldn't.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Maria, thank you. And all in favor? Okay. Motion to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting from August the 31st. I glanced over them. They looked okay, but I usually tend to miss, misspellings and things like that. So
I have questions.
Yep. Gail, go ahead.
Can you put it on the screen, James? Through you to James. 7.5 and 7.6. There was a few. Can that be brought up on the screen?
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up right now.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, 7.5, the paragraph that starts that further down. Gail Benjafield stated that she would like to see part of the funds allocated to restoring the oil fountain, and Lorraine Giroux, noted that she was unsure whether restoring the oil fountain would be covered by the funds. Were reserved
for
commercial.
that sentence looks a little messy, so I'll clear that.
Okay, it's not just that. I think that's we have $1,000 left, I believe, this year, right? And so I guess my general question was, it's a vase, and I know it's in storage, and I hope it will be attended to, but $1,000, I'm just wondering now whether that wouldn't be enough if we were to go with that to repair that vase. Just a general question.
Yeah, so I did reach out to the department that's working on that. It's actually, this would only be like a small percentage. $1,000 would not get us very far.
Really?
The budget, it's
okay.
Pretty significant budget to be able to restore that.
Okay, so, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can share how much we're asking for in the budget.
Oh, no,
at this
that's
time,
fine.
so.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, down to 7.6, just below. I have one more question. I think I may have misspoken, but it says that Gail Benjafield noted she has asked the Historical Society of St. Catharines board. I hadn't yet at that point. Okay. It was my intention to, and I did do it. And I asked Brian and I, as we're on the Historical Society board, that we write the thing but I just would like that change to have, I don't think I had asked them yet at that point. It was my intention to. So if
that's not a problem. I can clear that up.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm fine with everything else.
Do we have any other changes to be made to the minutes? And not seeing anything, then I guess we should have a motion to adopt the amended minutes of the meeting.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
John, thank you. And all in favor? Okay. Declarations of interest. I think I will have to recuse myself once again for the Brown House item 7.5. Lorraine?
Yep.
I think I will have to recuse myself as well from the Brown Homestead application.
I will as well.
Wow, there's not going to be anybody left to talk at this point. James, I guess you'll have to take over for us.
Yeah, that's not a problem. So the other thing that I'll mention to the three of you is, so we've been told that we have to have our members fill out, if they do have to recuse themselves from an item, they just have to fill out a small form that's online. I'll send the link to you after the meeting. We had to have Brian fill it out last week, and Brian could probably vouch for how long it took him to take, but it's not intended to be.
Yeah, it was like 2 minutes, if even that.
So it's just something that we're doing now. So I'll circulate that to you after the meeting.
Thank you, James.
So moving on to the business at hand for the day, item 7.1, which is proposed alterations to Robertson School at 85 Church.
Yep,
And
so
this is
Vince
for-
is here.
This is basically for, I guess, accessibility.
Yeah, I think Vincent is here, right?
Yes, if you like, James, I can give a brief introduction and then I'll ask our architect, Greg Redden, to take over. So capital funds have been approved for the 2023 budget to implement accessibility upgrades to Robertson School, which is currently the home of the Niagara Folk Arts Council. Providing much needed services to the community, newcomers and other services to the broader community. We recognize their importance, and the city has allocated funds to include a passenger elevator to reach all floors, the ground floor, the upper floor, and the basement, as well as a universal washroom on the basement floor, ground floor, and second floor. The elevator and the washroom will be housed in an addition that James is kind of moving his cursor on it right now. This is approximately in the northwest corner of the site. And there will be other improvements throughout the facility, which include door widenings, proper threshold transitions into rooms that over the years, the subfloor conditions and finished floor conditions have been altered to create an inaccessible transition into some of the rooms. Some improvements to the existing washrooms to better accommodate people with needs, although not implementing a fully FADS stall in those washrooms because of the impracticality of doing so. However, this is why we are adding a full universal stall on all levels. And lastly, but not least, we are creating a sloped walkway on entering the building into the covered entrance from Church Street. So I think I've given a brief overview. The floor plans are on your screen now, and if I could ask maybe Greg to highlight anything that I've missed, or go over maybe in some particulars with the architectural details.
Thank you, Vincent. Hello, committee. It's really as concise as Vincent has described, for the reasons Vincent has described, which is community accessibility for all. And there was one obvious location to suggest the elevator against the backdrop of this historic building, and that was to infill that three-sided portion of the existing plan and have as least at the least intrusive volume that we could for the elevator shaft. So really, beyond adding that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Okay, thanks. I have no particular problem with the elevator and stuff going into this back portion. The only question I had was because it's going to be right up against the historic building, how much digging is going to be done in this area, and if there's going to be any, has there been any thought given to archaeology?
One could assume that given the proximity of the foundations and the overdigging that would be required to have installed them, that we will be in an area of the building that is undisturbed from the point of its original construction. So anything that would have been deposited there since its construction would certainly be close to the surface of the site. As you can appreciate, at the time this building was built, with shoring and so on, there would have been a bit of an over excavation for the footings, and it's again to answer your question, I don't know anything about the archaeology that might be on the site, but in terms of the probability that the soil and area has been disturbed quite a bit is quite likely.
So in other words, there won't be any archaeological monitoring done while the work is going on.
Perhaps Vincent could comment on that.
Yep, Vincent, go ahead.
Thanks. Thank you, Greg. So I would just like to add to Greg's point. And if we could all just take a look at the photo that's there. The original building, which I believe, and James, please clarify this, which holds the designation, is partially seen between the two projections there, the one on the right and one on the left. And the one on the left is particularly more contemporary than the other two. And in order to have constructed that, there definitely would have been a significant disturbance, underpinning, etc., to the adjacent the subsoil, and which is where we're going to be adding the addition. I'm going to have to defer to James as far as the requirements that would necessitate our archaeological investigation. So, but at this point, I don't see any potential there.
If I could also add, a significant portion of that area is occupied by a former coal chute. So a window well, if you will. It's almost as deep as the foundation, and it measures to be a fair bit of the surface area of that location. So there already is an excavation in that area, so the volume isn't very great.
Okay. Lorraine, you've got a question?
As this is a public use building, wouldn't its continued use require the addition of some of these changes that you're mentioning, and especially the elevator? But I didn't see that mentioned anywhere here in the application.
Well, actually, Vincent, if you have a quick response.
Sure. If I could just clarify your question, you were asking that the continued, in order for this building and the services provided therein to continue to do so, that these accessibility upgrades are required or mandated in some extent. Is that correct?
That's what I'm asking, because it is a public use building. I've been to several meetings there with newcomers and people coming in and out. I'm just wondering, to continue to use it as such, wouldn't this be required?
Yes. So there is the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act does address this, and there is a deadline in 2025, I believe it is, And we will be next month presenting in front of the Accessibility Advisory Committee to say that the requirements are not so black and white though. So yes, there is legislation that talks to this. Whether that legislation specifically requires what we're doing, I can't say to that effect. However, what we are doing is in compliance with the city's facility accessibility design standards, and which exceed the Ontario Building Code. So what we are doing is definitely a requirement for city-owned buildings, which this is. This will, what we're doing will definitely bring us more in compliance with the Ontarians with Accessibilities Act. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'm just thinking, have you, you sound like you found the best alternative for some of these changes, including the elevator. And if it's required by, if it's mandated, then it seems like a fairly simple proposition to us to approve.
I mean, yes, I would. This is again, to use the word mandate is a strong term, but I would definitely say that by I believe it's January 2025. There are certain implementations that need to be in place to satisfy the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act,
Right.
which this will definitely satisfy those standards.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Gail?
Yes, and I'm a bit confused by the last discussion because I haven't been in the building for over a decade, as Lorraine has. The current, it looks to me like the elevators that's being proposed is completely different from where I know the position of the current elevator to be. Am I correct about that?
I can tell you that there is not currently an elevator.
There is no more. There was at one point.
There's a ramp. There's a ramp on the ground floor from the side door to take people from grade to the current ground floor, but currently there is not an elevator.
Okay, because I remember having a memorial service there, and I remember Luca Hill. That's how bad my memory is. Actually, having to take the elevator down to the basement floor. But I'm misremembering something here.
Well, hopefully from this point forward, everybody will have the opportunity to visit all floors if they need an elevator.
Okay.
If I could just possibly clear that up for you. So there are two buildings on this site. This is the main building, and then behind or north of this building is what they call the annex, or the Folk Arts Council refers to it as the Robbie. Which yes, and that's where they hold a lot of so they usually rent out that space to user groups, and they do have many functions there, including the Folk Arts Council. And that building does have an elevator.
That's what. All right. That clarifies. That fine. That clarifies everything. As I say, it's been over a decade since I've been there, but I do remember Luca Hill. Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay. Are there any more questions or comments? And if not, then I guess we need a motion to approve the alterations to the building. Lorraine, you're making the motion?
Yes.
Okay. And all in favor? Okay. Done.
Great, thanks, Vincent. I'll get your heritage permit probably tomorrow.
Thank you, James, and thank you to everyone on the committee.
Okay,
Thanks so much.
Bye now.
Okay, moving on to item 7.2, which is the proposed addition and alterations to 97 Dalhousie Ave. I see Michael is here. And Mary as well, I guess.
I'm here, yes.
So the floor is yours. Razzle dazzle us.
If I may, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'm Michael Mernick at 2M Architects. We've got Mary, and I also see Adrian's got a presence here, and hopefully he can hear us. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Great.
You're good.
So what's being proposed is there is an existing two-story residential building on the property, as you can see in the photograph. And we've supplemented the heritage application with some photos of the rear areas of the house as well. I don't know if you have those photos, James. It's a two-story residence, but as you walk around, you can see there's a sort of story and a half in the back, which then further steps down to a single story in the photo that's currently being shown. Thank you for that, James. So the proposition is to retain the front of the house more or less as is, and then to place an addition over the single story portion at the back to make the two-story house extend all the way back through. There is currently a front porch. James had inquired about some of the materials and details of that porch, which we sent through some of the photos. I went back to specifically look at it. And for example, the base photo, if you could just pan back for a second, James. It appears that the column is of some vintage. I can't say whether or not it's old, whether or not it's original. But when I bent down to look at the base, it's a polycast base. So it has been replaced fairly recently. It's rather dirty and old looking, but it is certainly not the original. The railings and pickets have been replaced, but the foundation elements look or appear to look as if they're original. If James continues a little lower, you'll see that the deck has been replaced and that the wood ceiling seems to be more in keeping with the vintage of the house itself. So the proposition at the front porch would be, we've tried to keep the look of the original porch, but given that the owners intend to occupy this as an investment, live-in investment property, they want 2 residential apartments on the second floor level, of which the one facing the street would have no exterior expression. So it was desired that we have some form of balcony. Now, what we've tried to do is maintain the structure of the front porch and then create a new roof configuration that would keep the pediment over the front entry and the columns, and then use a simple railing to get our guardrail up to current height. And the 2 windows that are at the front of the house, in their exact locations, we've placed the access doors that would give you access to this. Then we've introduced on the side of the residence 2 additional porches. Maybe, thank you for that. The first one gives entry to a stair addition, and the one further to the right is the side entry to the owner's residence. Now, what we've tried to do here is make something that is distinct from the original, and yet trying to follow similar massings to be sympathetic. So by bumping out the stair addition on the side of the building and dramatically changing the window configuration, we've made a demarcation between the original building on the left and the new building on the right. We've taken care to reorient the siding, to change the window shape and style from a double hung to a casement, so that there's a balance between the two. Yet when you look at the house, you can clearly see the original house to the left and the addition to the right. Now, when you look at the front elevation, once again, James, you see the presence of the addition on the right-hand side. And I just want to draw to the committee's attention, it's a little bit of a fallacy in how you read a drawing. That addition is 40 feet back from the property line. It's not altering one's perception of the original massing or your experience of it. Because it is set so far back, it is meant to provide the new entries to the apartments as mentioned, and yet make that physical distinction between the materials. And it is suggested that the stair addition be done in a stucco material that would be different again from the others to draw that very marked separation between new and old. At this point in time, I didn't know if Mary or Adrian want to add anything, or I see that they're muted. But I am, and I'm sure they are open to addressing any questions that the committee might have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, do any of the members have questions about the presentation? Or criticisms of it? Or heaps of praise?
Yeah, I'd like to give it a question.
My only question, well, my only questions about it, you said with the rear addition that's being made that it's going to go like over top of what's there. So is there going to be any demolition of portions of the house at all?
The rear addition that exists there now would be removed, which doesn't appear to be original. And yes, that proposed two-story addition would be wholly new.
Okay.
With the middle two-story part sitting atop of what is already there.
Okay.
It is a bit of a convoluted approach in that we're trying to step in and around. We lowered the roof height of the addition. We did not match what is there to make the distinction. And James, if you could, on the floor plans, the original house on the left side encroaches into the current required setback. So the fact that the new addition, we took advantage of that to offset the massing of the new addition to comply with the zoning requirements, but also it reduces the width and thereby drops the roof level and keeps that addition subordinate to the existing building.
The other question that I had was about the two front windows that are going to be altered. Are they providing access to like two separate apartment units upstairs?
No, they would provide access to the same. We toyed with the idea of keeping one of the windows that are currently there and just changing one to the door access, but that seemed to throw off the nice balance and symmetry that is there right now, and we wanted to keep that. If the committee thought that that'd be necessary, then we could certainly look at just doing it to one of the two, but we're trying to use the shape sort of like a mansard roof when we reconfigure the roof to hide the lower portion of the door, so it reads as if it's the upper portion of two windows. You wouldn't really, because of your lack of parallax and viewing from the street or the sidewalk, you wouldn't see the lower portion of the doors at all. And it sort of tries to maintain that aesthetic that the existing house has.
Yeah, because that was my question, because I thought if it's only going to be access for like one apartment unit or one section of the house, then that was correct. What I thought was going to suggest was, could one be the door and one window left as is, but
perhaps James, sorry, Brian, if you could go to the floor plan, it might clarify it for you. There we go. We have 2 bedrooms at the front of the house. And you can see that the balcony is small in nature, but it would sort of become a mansard masking roof that would hide that. But we've tried to maintain that front gable where it currently is to keep that look and the balance over the existing front entry door on the main floor level. But if you felt that it would be better to have them offset, 1 door and 1 window, we're certainly open to that.
Lorraine, you've got a question. You're muted.
There. I appreciate all the considerations that have gone into, keeping as much as possible in this house. But I do have one question, and that's I want to know more about the reconfigured porch. I might have missed it in your description, but can you tell me a little bit more about the materials? I understand why there's not being the effort to keep those existing materials, because they're obviously not original. But I'm just wondering what else you're going to do.
No problem at all. I might have done a poor job explaining things. So let's consider the porch to be having 3 levels: the foundation, the front support columns, 3, you can see them there with the pickets and railings, and then the roof structure. So the foundation stays the same, the columns stay the same, but we're going to reconfigure the roof to hide a balcony in behind. But we're going to keep that entry pediment over the door, or when we get into the construction, if it's not of a structural integrity that we can keep, we would replace it to match the existing that is there now. You can see the way the 2 columns flank the door with the gable above. And maybe, James, if you could go to that existing photo at the front of the house. Sorry to make you jump around like this.
Okay, that's my job.
There it is. See, we keep that pediment look, but the roof slope is going to come up a little bit higher to hide the balcony. And we didn't want to bring the roof slope up to the current height of a guardrail because it would be too dissimilar to the existing. So we introduced that little portion of picket fencing atop as a rail to meet the current codes, yet try to achieve a similar look to what is there.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the effort that you put into this design.
Thank you.
Okay, Andrew.
Given the proposed configuration of the upper floor as 2 separate units, does adding the balcony on the front have any benefit in terms of fire safety? Was that one of the considerations? I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere.
When we're going to get a whole building code discussion here. If the stairwell is a fire rated stairwell, and now we're talking details of how one applies gypsum wallboard, then you only need 1 exit. But if that would be to be more conventionally approached with drywall, then you would require a place of refuge, which the front balcony does provide. And at the back, we're providing, if maybe you can just pan over to show the side a bit more, James. There, the unit at the rear on the 2nd level is also given outdoor expression there to try to help that. So it's like a second means out.
Right, but
I'm
what you're
all
saying is
for
that
having additional options, even if you've met the, let's call it the bare minimum of the code.
so this case is where the requirements of the code are met by the main access point, but it is
in light of,
So it's supplemental. It's not necessary
that's
for the code.
a
but
good word for it, but it's not required.
Thank you.
Dr. Bergen.
Over the years, we've seen a lot of addition proposals for existing houses, and a lot of them really change the existing structure. And I'm really pleased how thoughtful things have been here in terms of a very significant addition and a useful addition. We're running into issues with the housing crisis. Here we've got 3 houses or three residential spaces where we had 1 before. And yet from the street, there's not going to be a significant change. I think that this is as good an addition proposal for this that's this substantial to this sort of house that I've seen. So well done, Michael.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions or comments? Oh, Maria.
She's on mute, just.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Michael, I wonder if you could help me understand the issue of I should say the proposed window openings on the second story, the front facade. Are you proposing to remove those existing windows and make them change the length of them? Shall we say you're lowering the sills of the original window openings? Is that correct?
Correct. Maintaining the lintel over top of the opening and replacing the window unit with a door unit.
Oh.
That would provide access to that front balcony. But the width would match what is there, and the mirror image sort of configuration would be maintained.
So what we're looking at right now is, in fact, 2 new openings, which will be doors in your proposal.
I'd like to think of them as 2 extended openings. They're not really new. We're just knocking the panel out below the window to get it to floor level. So the openings are there, the structural lintel is there. The jack studs on either side are there. We're just carrying it lower, or to use your term originally, to lengthening them down toward the floor level, if that clarifies it for you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Have any other questions? Comments? Oh,
Polly.
Polly? Yeah,
Oh, I
Polly?
just wanted, oh, hi, I just wanted to ask, as we're looking at that drawing with the railing, now if that's, people are going to use that as a balcony, what's the height of that railing there?
Well, it's very hard to see, but the height is 42 inches off the floor level of the balcony. So if you, perhaps, James, it might help if you went back to the floor plan. The lower half of the balcony is concealed by the roof. There, it's hidden by like a mansard roof. So the balcony, you don't see the bottom portion. But if we just did it the way the roof shape is, it would still not be sufficient to meet today's codes. So rather than raising the roof up higher and blocking the upper portion of those doors, which is what we want to keep that illusion as if they're 2 windows, we just need a little bit more height. So we introduce that rail as a distinct element to sort of play off the pickets of the porch below.
Hey, thank you for the explanation. Thank you.
Okay, so if we have no further questions or comments, I guess we need a motion to approve the additions and alterations. I mean, I originally had, thoughts, that, hey, we're modifying the front window openings, but I mean, it seems like such a sensible solution, to the problem of, having access to that front porch, and, it's I really don't have any major issues with this one. So we have someone to make the motion. Dr. Bergen, thank you. And all in favor? Okay. I guess we're done.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Michael. Thanks, Mary and Adrian. I'll have your heritage permit to you tomorrow, hopefully.
Great. Thank you very much to the committee and chair and James. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Moving on to item 7.3, proposed alterations to 44 Locke Street, which is the old Manley house, Mary Pickford's cousin's house. I
Yes,
guess we're
John Stankovic is over here. I am the owner. I don't know, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yes, hi James, hi Brian. We actually meet again, actually, and about year and a half later, because I just want to give like quick explanation why this is happening. In this particular house, portion of this house on the left-hand side, and it's like it goes on city property, and only 1 foot of this roof on north side, on the back side of the house, going to neighbor property. In purpose to, because I already get like previously heritage approval to renovate this house. Just then I was stopped by building department because they can't give me like building permit because I need an encroachment agreement. To get encroachment agreement with the city, I have to get for this particularly 1 foot what is encroached in a neighboring property. I need to get like neighbor basically to be agree with that, which he is not agree with that. This means I have to find another solution to do that. Then I get back to architect. He said, if you don't have this fee, that means you can't have ventilation of the roof. Basically, you have to tear down complete roof down. In this purpose, like, because we have to do this just because this 1 foot, because in this case, I'm gonna satisfy neighbor, I don't gonna have problem with that. And then I'm gonna only deal with city, which is no problem with the city to get encroachment agreement if I don't have problem with the neighbor from behind. In this purpose, we have to come up with completely new drawing, which we did, and alternate like 2 or 3 times with James, because he wants like to get like appearance as much as we can keep appearance of the house how it looks right now, right? You know, from the front of the Locke Street. That's mean like we finally get to the like some drawings. I don't know if James has this drawing where we're gonna leave like front with shingles, because we want to do like modern house. Just this is impossible for Portaluzzi. Just then my architect actually come up with solution to get shingles on the front, to get to have same appearance or similar appearance what we have right now, and the flat roof behind of the house, to actually be able to don't have this 1 foot encroached in the neighboring property. And basically this was only solution to get the permit, building permit. I was like, actually we have a meeting with the building department, with James, I don't know who was over there, like, and my architect and me. And then we get finally, we agree on this solution what we now like represent to you. Only what building department and the planning department says we have to comply with heritage look, right, with your approval. This is the reason why we over here now again. That's what is what we have now to propose, and ask me whatever question you have. I am pleased to answer, and I think my architect is over there too to help with any answers what you can ask.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Do we have questions about the proposal? No? Lorraine.
I was afraid to ask this question because it sounded as if I maybe didn't understand the drawings, but frankly, I don't understand some of the drawings. So the idea of the roof in the picture, can you explain how it is going to be modified? Is part of it going to be shortened? I'm not sure. That's what it looks like to me in the diagram. Is there, I don't know what you're doing actually, specifically.
Purpose of this doing, like, because we have to have on a back flat roof. It's another option. We have to have that to lose this 1 foot for this ventilation, whatever it is. Just what James require, because he think that you all gonna require to keep like originally look, right? You know what is, which is much more difficult and much more. Then we come up, we're gonna have like this front of the house from Lock Street, what we're looking now on over there. We're gonna have this is like kind of slope to look like actually it's gonna be shingle roof, same what is now, right? Just is only from another side doesn't gonna have this peak, right? Over here it's gonna be peak on the front, just another side is gonna be flat.
So the front will still look the same.
Yes, pretty much, right? You know, like pretty much same. Maybe different, a little bit height. Actually, probably pretty much same. You know, we're gonna try to do that way, right? Actually, however, it's on a picture. That's how it's gonna be, right? You have like on right hand side, you know how this detail is gonna be, and how this roof is. I don't know how to explain. Maybe my architect can explain this better. Osama, are you there? I don't know.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah.
This is Osama Abu Nassar, architect from OAN Architects, and I work closely with John for last 2 years about this building to find a solution to go through the first committee, and then we came to this issue with the overhang encroaching on the neighbor's property. And then we had this solution to come with the flat roof to avoid having the overhang. But we working closely with James, requesting that we need to keep some shingle roofs to the front, to the Lock Street. So we sloped the front of the house, and then when we reached the peak, we flattened the roof back towards to the backyard. We tried to keep some of the the sunroom on the left side. We kept exactly the same. We changed one window to the right side of the main entrance because with the new design inside the building, we have a washroom there. So we cannot keep like regular window behind. So we had to go with this kind of linear window, higher a little bit from the street. You don't need it to give some privacy. And we kept the main canopy to the front. Even we don't have, I don't know when this canopy built, but because it was approved in the previously, we tried to keep it. Okay. And hopefully it's okay like that. Just that's in short. Like if you have any question, please let me know.
Do you have any actual photographs of the rest of the house beside the front?
Personally,
No.
I don't have right now. I don't know if James have.
No, I
from-
only have the front elevation.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
is there a part of the house, do you want to see it from the back, Lorraine? Is that the question?
Yeah, when they're talking about where that flat roof is,
Yes.
I'm trying to picture what it looks like.
Would it be helpful maybe if I put up an aerial photo? That might be the best we could
Yeah,
do.
no, that would be great. Thanks, James.
James, James, I don't know
Yes.
if you existing drawings, we provided the existing drawings for the existing house. I don't know if you have that. Maybe that will give an idea about how the house looked like from the back. It's just big, long, high retaining wall, kind of.
I'm just pulling up the aerial photo first, and then I'll see if I can track down the originals.
Was this house not sort of built up on stilts at the back at some point, or was that the neighboring house?
No,
Vacant.
this is on,
That was on the side. It was built up on the side.
yes,
Ah.
just on the side. Yeah, this we're gonna keep that point.
So unfortunately, we have a lot of trees surrounding it, so it's not going to help. Sorry about
And
that.
I tried to call city to remove those trees, like one on the north side, actually exactly over here why we had to change, and one in the front, what is goes like over the top of the roof. And they told me probably I have to wait 1.5 to 2 years for them to come to do that. That's how it works now. I don't know why. Right? That's explanation, because they have only one machine, only one crew who taking trees down, and this means whenever it's going to happen, it's going to happen, right?
So this is the elevation at the rear,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
and then this is the side elevation, or one of the side elevations at least.
And so you won't see the flat roof from the front? The flat roof portion?
No.
Oh,
I have just one question about that window that you're going to be reconfiguring on the right-hand side of the door. Is there some reason why you have to position a washroom there to change that window? Can the washroom not be placed someplace else and leave the original opening the way it is?
Excellent question. Really good question. First of all, the house is really tiny little house. Really tiny little house. Second, if we locate it in the back, we are killing the nice view to the back. Okay, the backyard where the nice view. So usually you put the washroom in the area where really dead area or doesn't affect, and it work well with the design of the house, because as mentioned, it's really tiny little house. So that's the only location when we were designing. Actually, we didn't know about the issue with the heritage at that time, okay, when we designed it. So, and we located the washroom there, and we thought it's fine. And when we came to do the elevation, we figure out that we have, for privacy, have to have it a little bit high, because we don't want people to see the washroom from the street.
So this is the washroom here, and then
Yes.
the windows here. And then the front entrance here.
Okay, Andrew, your hand was up first, I believe.
Yeah, just for clarity, which side is the encroaching overhang on, if you're looking at the face of the house?
On the back left corner. Yes,
Back left
yes,
corner.
it is. Yes, exactly. This arrow now, right? Yes, that's it. That's over there. Yes, I mean encroachment on neighborhood property, right?
But just the roof overhanging by a foot is.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
and that's is huge. This is like 4.5 years of going back and forth with city, and in the end, I don't have a choice than basically take roof down and come up with this solution what we come up right now. Yeah.
Oh.
And they are agree with that, right? You know, like
Yeah.
still after this your improvement, I have to go approve. I have to go to get encroachment from the city portion.
Mhm. I'm just comparing what is being presented now with the version that we looked at last year that was approved, and there's some significant differences. I think
Yes.
the
Because-
overall look at the front was much preferable to the one that's being presented now, but the major difference is that an entire second floor has been added. And
Yes, because
I'm just trying to do the math
yeah.
between a 1 foot overlap
Yep.
encroachment necessitating the addition of a whole second floor.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm missing something.
I had rooms over there in this roof now, right? This was like floor over there, and we had on the other side like one how it's called window on a roof. Just because I had to lose this this roof, right? I have to lose that. Then I had to come up. I mean, I don't change height of the house whatsoever, right? You know, it's gonna stay same. Just then because we have to change, I have to go in major renovation instead of what I previously planned to go just a minor renovation, right? And then we open this another 2 windows on the second floor over there, where you have on a back on a drawings right now. Just we don't gonna have more square feet what we have originally right now.
I have a question.
Yes.
James,
I think Dr. Bergen first, and then Holly.
Okay, yes, I have a couple of concerns. One is I really like how the original preserved the roof line. I've always admired that house. I mean, it's a quirky little Port Dalhousie house, and I think it's fabulous.
Yes.
I gave thought to buying it and decided that was a little bit complicated. But I like the roof line on the original. I do not like the roof line on the current one. And without, I don't want to get into an argument about discussing how this could work, but could not the roof doesn't have to be symmetrical on both sides. It can be where it is on the front, and could it not drop off at the back and just drop a bit short at the back instead of being squared off? Because right now we've got a much more squared off building to what we have now. But my other concern is, and I really don't like this, is that horizontal window on the bathroom. We have a bathroom that looks out onto the street, and my children have all used it. My wife uses it, and we put a curtain in front of it, and that worked really well for about 45 years. and that's a different solution to a horizontal, but that tall horizontal window is really modern and does not belong in that house. I'm sorry. Curtains will work, or frosted glass, or there are various things that can be done, but you don't need a window that's horizontal and looks like it was built in a house that was trying to be really contemporary. End of statement.
I think I'd be much happier if it was, you know, the window opening was left as it was instead of, you know, what's proposed.
Let's go. Then we're gonna figure out and just leave window how basically how it is right now, pretty much same, right? You know, like just rid of this, and then we're gonna figure out what. I mean, Osama, that he's gonna figure out how to deal with washroom. Just we're gonna then change this vertical window to, because this is not for me issue, right? You know, like this is just look of the building. If you like that, I'm okay with that. For me, just to get forward and to be able to do something with this house, right? Because I'm not able to do anything with that, right? You know, like bylaw officer come over here, tell me what to do that. I said, guys, I can't do it. This way, those pillars, this is not mine. This is still is from city, right? You have to deal with that. Right, you know, they don't want to deal with that. That means I have to deal with that, even if I don't have to. Right, you know, like and it just go in circle. We are not with no ends. Right, you know, like, and this happened for over 4 years. Right now, and now finally, building department. James was over here. We have finally agree how to comply with this encroachment agreement. What to do for the encroachment agreement. And I am willing to do whatever you want me to do, just to get forward, right? You know, definitely we're gonna remove this window and put like window, whatever is right now, however it is, right?
Holly, you had a question?
Well, I really feel for you, John, because I walk down those stairs from
Yes.
Lock Street, Dalhousie Avenue, down those, public stairs to the beach, maybe twice a day. And
Yeah.
I just hope that, this house, I've seen people hovering in the little woods there. I've seen all kinds of some weird guys creeping around in there and bikes. And I'm just hoping that you're going to get working on this because
It's honestly, I would like to do this basically tomorrow, day after. Just it's like I mean, this house is 70, 80, 90 years old, right? And this 1 foot was for 90 years over there, who knows how long. And now this is whole thing, what is actually problem, the overhang of the roof. You know, I can't believe it's whatever it is, right? And finally we figure out what to do it and only way how to do it. And hopefully it's going to be right, guys, with you. And then I hope in 2-3 months to get encroachment agreement and then get building permit. And then I'm going to be able to move forward.
So what happens? There's kind of some trees by the stairs and then by your house and then at the bottom of Gary Road. Now, is that city land? So they'll look after that little bit of
yeah, the city land. Yes,
trees there.
Yes, that it is city land. And I try even buy this land from the city. Just city says this is gonna be street one point time. I said, guys, it's never gonna be street over there because you just build those stairs over there, right? What you going down. And they said it's gonna be street over there. It's like ridiculous. Just what you're gonna do now, basically nobody take care about this this property between those stairs and my house, right? Because it's city supposed to do it, just they don't do it, right? And I don't do it because it's not my property, right? You know, like, and it's that's probably what maybe Portaluzzi Heritage Department maybe can call them and push them to do something about this this piece of land, right, between house and the stairs.
So that was supposed to be like a road from Dalhousie going down
Yes,
back in the days, right?
Yes. Just I don't think that's ever going to happen because it's too steep, and I don't see. And then in the end, down there is not anymore public road because this is private parking lot right now. This means how can street goes to private parking lot? I don't. Anyway, this is politics. This is not my thing. You know, like I just want to try to go forward and to get to do something with this house because I think it's a great location. It's amazing small house. Just it can be really nice, right? Just I would like to get forward.
Andrew, you've got a question?
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm sort of still on the same point. And I like Holly, I'm sympathetic to the situation that it's taken so long. It's been so challenging. I just am still having difficulty. I agree with what David said. The previous iteration, I think, was much better than this one in terms of our, perspective from the heritage perspective, from our requirements. And I'm just having trouble seeing how a 1 foot encroachment, the only solution was this dramatic a change. I don't understand it. And
Andrew, excuse me if I jump in it. If anybody can explain me, I would like to know that. I try to explain them, then I can't believe that that's a problem, right? And this is what's the problem. And this is what is problem. 1 foot. I don't understand that. Just I can go nowhere. And I just go in circle, and nowhere to go, right? This is like I think four drawings what we did it for this house, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure that you're in a position to speak to this, James, but I'm just curious as if there's a position that the city wants to take on that to support that point that the only solution to that 1 foot overhang was this dramatic a shift, because I'm having trouble getting my head around that.
Me too.
I know you guys have put a lot of work into this, so would you agree with that statement?
Yeah,
Well, would the city agree with that statement? Are you willing to be the one to say that?
Through the chair, so it's probably one of the more challenging applications we've had in front of the committee, and I've shown the committee the iterations that we've gone through to kind of get it to this point. I can speak to a little bit of what my goals were in terms of getting them to this point, and I think you're correct in saying that there are still issues that need to kind of be ironed out, and I think it sounds like the owner has or is willing to compromise on some of those issues. I think that the flat roof is definitely has always been a concern for this heritage committee, and especially in Port Dalhousie, it's been a concern. And so understanding that and trying to provide guidance to the owner and to the architect, my recommendation was to keep the existing roof line as much as you could. And then, if you need to do the flat roof behind it to be able to appease kind of the encroachment issue, then, we can try to find some sort of flexibility there. In this case, maybe it's a case where the mansard roof is actually, because that's essentially what we're dealing with now, right, is a mansard roof. Maybe it needs to be sloped further to match the existing or be closer to the existing situation. I don't know if Osama can speak to what the existing slope is and how much it's changed. But the goal essentially was to try to retain as much as you could from the front facade and retain that character while doing what they needed to do behind the scenes to be able to meet the encroachment issue. It's a challenging application, of course, and that was kind of trying to find a compromise with the owner. This is where we got to this point. I thought where we got to a point where we felt that we could bring it to the committee at least and get your feedback.
Yeah, for me, it's the window is an issue, the front window, but maintaining the mansard roof would make a huge difference in terms of making this more appealing. The flat roof and adding the second story, I kind of have no issue with, other than what it's done to the roof, and that has a dramatic effect on the appearance of the house from the front.
Well, I don't want to speak for Osama. Maybe Osama could speak to the slope issue and whether or not there's any room for compromise there.
Thank you very much. Yeah, as James mentioned, it was a challenge to keep the look of the house in a certain way with having kind of no overhang. We came to this idea and we tried to present it. And we originally, actually, we have some what we call it dormers, and then the guideline for the city of Port Dalhousie or the town of Port Dalhousie, there they don't allow us also to have dormers, which I don't understand why not. Like dormers presented in architecture forever, okay, but it's not allowed to have dormers. We tried some skylights, we cannot have skylights. We are left only just shingle roof. And almost, yes, it's higher a little bit, but we have like around 12 slope there. Originally was around 612. But at least the appearance of the front of the building, it has the shingle, it has the siding, it has the front canopy. I understand the issue with the window of the washroom. I will try to change it to meet your requirements, definitely. By the way, it's not required by code to have window for the washroom. We could delete it totally, but it's nice to have washroom window for the washroom to give some natural lighting, and so we try to make it a little bit to match the existing what was before.
Okay, Lorraine.
I feel like we're sort of talking at different points here with Osama. I don't feel like you get it. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's me who doesn't get it, but the window, I was seeking an assurance that the front's going to look the same. And I got it, but it's really not going to look the same because of the window. And now you're saying it doesn't even need a window, but no, it does need a window. It needs the window because it had a window before. So I feel that, and the slope of the roof, as Andrew has said, I'm not getting the assurance that it's going to look the same as the heritage home it was from the front.
Can I mention something?
Go ahead.
We have to agree here that this building was abandoned for so many years. Structurally went through a lot of issues during the years which was abandoned. Okay, roof leak, all the original structure was gone, almost like rotten. The back retaining wall cracked and it's very weak. We have to agree here that we need to do something for this house. Okay, to keep the original house with the same way, with tiny little house, I don't think it is going to add anything to the I don't know whether it's worth it. If I am the developer or the owner, I may not spend all of that money to get back to same 500 or 600 square foot house. So to make it worth, because it's really extensive renovation we are talking here for the structure, for the foundation wall back. So, and plus with the issues with the encroachment. So it is this matter of multiple issues. We tried in the original drawings, they presented last year to the committee, to have the bedrooms in the basement to make it work, to keep the original look of the house. Okay, however, when we came to reality, even that we cannot have, because the foundation of this house are deteriorated, and there's some bush of the from the road to the original foundation walls. Okay, so practically even we cannot have bedrooms in the basement. So that's why we came to the idea to have some extra additional square footage on the second floor. Thank you.
Yeah, just this window, what the vertical window, actually horizontal window on top, we're gonna change to be same window what is actually right now on the house, right? Because this doesn't gonna be huge difference for me, and it is gonna look how it's right now is looking, right? Have two windows on the front, and we're gonna have those two windows on the front. And I don't see that's gonna be any issue to do that. Washroom, they're gonna put over there, and curtains, what another gentleman said over there, really doesn't matter, right, for me. Just please tell me what you want me to do, and I'm gonna do just to go forward.
And roughly on this drawing that we're looking at now, like where would approximately the current roof line be in relation to what we're seeing? Is it the same height as what's here, or is it a little bit lower?
The new is a little bit higher,
What's a little bit?
I will give you in a minute. Just give me a second. I'm in front of my computer. It is 1.5 meter.
Yeah. So it'll be 1.5 meters higher than what we see here.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any other comments, criticisms, concerns?
I think Maria has her hand up.
Maria,
Yes.
do you?
I do, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
go ahead.
In I suppose the committee's desire to retain as many of the heritage features as possible, could you tell me why you might be proposing to remove the gable roof over the garage and replace it with, it looks like a very modern styling there, if I understand correctly? What would be your reason for wanting to remove that?
Can I answer? Through you,
Yeah, go
Chairman.
ahead. Yep.
We need the extra square footage to accommodate 2 bedrooms. So we don't have any area where to put bedrooms. As I mentioned before, like we cannot have them in the basement. Okay, that's what we tried to do originally to keep the look of the house exactly. So that's the only reason.
Removing the gable over the garage door gives you that additional square footage for bedrooms?
Correct. Correct.
Thank you.
No problem.
Through the chair, this is the second floor plan. So the garage is essentially here. And there's a walk-in closet immediately above, and then an ensuite bathroom behind.
Exactly. It's only 2 bedrooms house practically. Just
Mm-hmm. Gosh.
The other question that I just had, looking at the current picture of the house and what you're proposing, is the front door going to have side lights on it?
we try to propose something like we try to propose a side light on the side. However, it's up to you. If you feel like we need to remove the side light, we could remove the side light. But I thought it's something to add some feature also to the house too, because side light doesn't look bad there. Okay, with my respect to the heritage here too, I work closely with heritage for so many years, different committees around the Ontario and in Europe as well. Always it's nice to add some little things, especially when you have some major extensive renovation for the building.
James, I don't know, would putting a side lights like that, does that constitute altering the front door opening?
So through the chair, this side light essentially was part of the original approval as well. So when in providing them with guidance, I asked them to return to what we knew the committee was okay with,
Right.
the previous plans. So you can see here, side lights are still there. There was comments previously about the porch and not altering the porch as part of the previous application, but there were no concerns about the side lights at that time. Because when they came in before, it was mostly for window alterations and for some of the cladding, essentially. So in providing them with guidance, it was thought that the committee's already approved this part shouldn't be a huge concern for this part of the application.
Dr. Bergen.
I look at that original plan and the existing house, and I have always loved the proportions of the house, the way it, just everything about it. And this new plan would give us a nice new modern house on that lot, but it would have almost none of that heritage character that I'm seeing in the original. And I understand the need for bedrooms and all of the above, but there must be, I can't believe that, as I understand it, it's the overhang of the roof, not even the wall. It's simply the overhang of the roof. It's something small that can't be accommodated just to displace the water that runs down and go back with that original plan. That's my, I shake my head, but I'm not an architect. Adding a flat roof to add 2 bedrooms, that's an awful lot of overreaction to a 1-foot overhang.
Sir, James was actually present on this meeting in City Hall, what we had over there, and that's what this issue is, and that's what city wants me to do, and I don't have any another option. I don't have nobody to talk to anymore, right? I talk to everybody. And not once, more than once, right? And no more than once. It's 4 years, this ongoing thing, right? Over 4 years, and just it's now they agree with this, whatever it is, right? Just now, how are we gonna get this like approval from you guys to be close to what you want to achieve, to be concerned like to don't change look of the Portaluzzi. Though beside me we have new stairs, we have very new building on 10 or 12, I don't know how many levels, and I don't think this building ever was in Portaluzzi, and it's there, right? You know, like, and I don't know how this building doesn't change all looks of Portaluzzi, right? We're talking now like I'm trying to do everything what everybody wants. Just seems like we have like two different things over here what we're looking, because if you're looking like building beside me, there's completely new building, completely new structure, you know, like it's I'm just anyway, just please let me know what you want me to do, and definitely I will do it.
So
Because
before
I think if James is, I think all of you agree. The worst thing, it is how is now. I think there's definitely how it shouldn't look like over there, right? And I don't have any way to do it differently, right? You know, I can move, I can start because nobody let me do it. Right?
Yeah, so I'll just jump in just before Andrew and Dr. Bergen ask their question. But so just to clarify for everybody, just in case it wasn't clear. So the encroachment issue, the 1 foot it's hanging over a neighbor's property. And the neighbor is willing to allow that to happen. So that's kind of the catalyst for the situation. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear in case it wasn't before. When originally when John and Osama came in and they showed the plans, and I asked them about, and I think it's the question that Dr. Bergen asked, it's why does 1 foot necessitate an entirely complete roof alteration, right? Osama explained, and Osama, I'm going to ask you to jump in after this, why it wouldn't be possible for you to do to move in essentially the roof, kind of remove the roof extension, the eaves, and create just an eaves that's built into the wall essentially to prevent that overhang. And some of you explained it to me before, but you're the architect and feel it's probably better coming from you.
Thank you very much. Yes, maybe everybody knows that the overhang used for venting the roof. Okay, and this roof built in certain way, like if I chamfered or cut that overhang, I have reconstruct the entire roof, and not only that, I will not be able to vent the gabled roof. So first of all, I will change the integrity of the structure. Second, I will not be able to vent the roof. So practically, we were left to totally, completely remove the whole roof. And came also as James mentioned, like this, the encroachment is very important thing for the city and for the neighbors, and we have to deal with it somehow.
Andrew?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I'm not sure how much more there's to talk about. This is a challenging and complicated one. We've asked you a lot of questions. You've answered them, and ultimately we're an advisory group. You've said the city has sort of said this is the answer, this is the solution. If the city supports this, then they'll go against the recommendation. If we recommend against it, they'll do what they're going to do. So I just think, why don't we just vote on this and see where it falls, and then pass our advice on to the city.
My one observation too, going back to what Maria was saying about the little roof over the garage, if that front wall of the garage is not going to be moving in or out, so to speak, could you not still retain a little roof over top of it, like a little faux peak, and it'll still give the appearance of having that roof over the garage, and that might make the proposal look a little more like what the heritage house is that's there now. Is
can I
that, is that a solution?
through you, Chairman. Actually, we tried to have dormers, as I mentioned previously, and we came to the guideline that we cannot have because this will look like a dormer. But your suggestion is excellent suggestion. If James agreed with it and they will let it go, then we could add definitely like a gable roof on top of the garage, but it will look like a gable, which is, again, as I mentioned, it's against the guideline. But we are open for it, definitely.
Yeah, so that, like, so that would make it look more, you know.
Yeah, so through the chair, I'll maybe clarify. There were, and I circulated previous plans to everybody, and there were a bunch of iterations and different things. And I think maybe my comments maybe got confused with something else. But I would be happy to support if gable was reinstated here to match what was original. There was a lot of different kind of roof configurations that were passed along, so I think maybe something just got lost in translation over time. But no, I think I would not consider that necessarily to be a dormer in the same way that, you know, if you were to put a shed dormer across the top here and completely change the roof configuration, I think that's a much different alteration. So yeah, I would have no concerns about adding a dormer above, or sorry, a gable above the garage to match what's existing.
Because I think if we retained that window, the original window on the right-hand side of the door, and had the little gable roof, I think I'd be a lot happier with a design like that.
Wonderful.
So if the rest of the committee can, you know, chime in on that, if they're happy with something like that as a compromise.
So through the chair, I can we can craft a motion with conditions in it, and we can add the window and the gable, and we can have the owner go back to and the architect go back to the drawing board, literally, and drop some new plans. We can circulate them to the group and get feedback at that point. This can be, you know, it's an iterative process, I think, in this case, probably more so than almost any application we've ever had. So as long as the owner and the architect don't mind kind of being collaborative and finding a solution, you know, I think that's a good path forward.
I'm okay with it, James. Thank you.
I don't have a choice. I am fine. I need more than fine.
Yeah, and through the chair, I mean, the owner and the architect have both been really good with taking feedback and everything, and everybody's seen what the original plans looked like and how far they've come from what was originally proposed. But the goal of the advisory committee is to advise and kind of help provide extra input. And so, yeah, it's appreciated to get these thoughts and have a motion passed that kind of provides more guidance, and then hopefully that'll, you know, take us the rest of the way.
So James, just to go off of what Brian said, if the design of the garage was similar to as Brian explained, and the window was taken away, the new window design is taken away and reverted back to the old design, I think it would look much similar. I feel very empathetic to the owner. I know that you've been through so much, and you know, you've been very, very patient with us. It just seemed like there was a lot of background and things to go through for this, but I think those two pieces would make a difference. So I think that, Brian, I think you're right, that we, you know, need to talk about whether we as a committee would agree to those two pieces, the window and the design, the roof return to a more existing look than the updated look that it has now.
Okay. Andrew?
Thank you.
I agree with that. It does leave unresolved the issue of the roof line, which is a big one for me. But I do want to, I won't talk about that more. I just will say that the one thing that the owner did say that did resonate with me as well is the fact that this building was empty for a period of time. And part of what we're dealing with here is the fact that you have a very small house on a very valuable piece of land, which makes, so adds a certain necessity to this. We may not like that all the time, but to have a small house that looks, you know, that keeps the heritage character better, that's empty and falls apart, is no solution either. And so it drives some need to compromise that, but I think we all have to ask ourselves, is this a compromise we can live with? and it is a hard decision.
Mhm.
So do we have a motion crafted, James?
That the SEHAC recommends approval of the proposed addition and alterations to 44 Lock Street with the following conditions. That the first story window between the garage and entrance be retained, and that the gable above the garage be reinstated in the proposed design. Don't think there's anything else that needs to be captured, but I think if we do want anything else to be captured, we should make sure that it's done now. So, and I also think that Osama and John have heard everybody's feedback, and if there are any other kind of things that Osama is able to incorporate to kind of retain more of the character of the house, you know, I don't think we would ever be opposed to that.
Thank you.
So if everybody's happy with this motion, can I have someone to move the said motion? Holly? Okay, thank you. And all in favor of the motion?
Could everybody keep their hands up if you're voting in favor, please? Thanks. Until Brian's looks like it's passed.
Yeah, good.
Okay. So what we will do is, Osama, you can make the updates to the plans. I'll review them and I'll circulate them to the group as well, and then they can provide any feedback, and you know, hopefully we can get this sorted out sooner rather than later. But if we need to bring you back in a month, you know, a month will come very quickly anyways. So we can always have another discussion. But yeah, hopefully this is a path forward.
Sure,
Okay.
I would possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you for everybody. Thank you too.
Okay, thanks.
All of you.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to item 7.4, the masonry repairs at the John Brown House. So I guess I'm going to have to step away at this point and turn the floor over to James.
Yep. So, and I think, yeah, Lorraine and both Andrew also are recusing themselves. So Jessica Linzel and Mackenzie Campbell are here from the Brown Homestead Foundation. They'll be making a presentation to the group, and I'll put it up on the screen in 1 second. Okay, you can go ahead whenever you'd like.
Okay, thank you, James. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Jess Linzel. I am the Director of Community Engagement at the Brown Homestead. We're going to be giving a bit of a two-part presentation today. I'm just going to introduce the project, and Mackenzie, my coworker, she's going to explain the process a little bit more after I introduce it. So yeah, we appreciate you considering our application for this designated property grant as we work to restore the oldest house in St. Catharines. The Brown Homestead, as most of you know, it's a unique community-oriented heritage site here on Pelham Road, and our team is working together to reimagine this historic place as a community gathering spot. We offer opportunities for learning and engagement with a conservation-first approach to the heritage structures on the site. The John Brown House is designated under bylaw 2019-317, which notes in its list of features that contribute to its physical or design value that it is the only existing example in Niagara of a house built entirely from Raynal's Rockway Dolomite limestone. And likewise, the 6 original fireplaces are included as interior features that contribute to the architectural value of the house. Today, the Brown Homestead is requesting support in the form of a designated property grant in the amount of $5,000 to help cover the costs associated with the masonry repairs in the summer kitchen and in the ballroom in the John Brown House. Collectively, these repairs will allow us to complete the restoration of the summer kitchen within 3 to 4 months, to obtain wet certification for the cooking hearth and bake oven, and also support our plan to adapt the space as our Center for Heritage Culinary Education and Programming. And also by filling and repairing this section above the fireplace in the ballroom upstairs, we can effectively complete our adaptive restoration of that area. And it's our intended purpose for that area to turn it into a flexible use educational programming and event space. So the Brown Homestead has collected enough suitable stone on site to complete the required repairs. And Patrick Van Velzen of Van Velzen Masonry Restoration has been contracted to complete the repairs. The project is quoted at $13,334. Mr. Van Velzen is a qualified mason who specializes in heritage restoration, and he's previously completed more than satisfactory work at the Brown Homestead in a timely manner with competitive rates, and it makes him a suitable choice, we think, for him to complete this project for us. Through this work, we can preserve the integrity of the building for future generations to enjoy. And these repairs all relate to the features identified before as representing the cultural heritage value of the house. So in our minds, they're a worthy undertaking, which would be made possible by the generous assistance of a designated property grant. Up to this point, we've completed much of our adaptive restoration work on the main floor of the John Brown House. But if any of you haven't been out for a while, or if you haven't been out before, we'd love to offer you a private tour. Anytime, just let me know. We'd love to show you around. So, okay, at this point, thank you very much. I'm joined by my colleague, Mackenzie. So Mackenzie Campbell, she's our project manager, and she's the point person for this work. And she's a Willowbank graduate, and she's also an interim member of the Canadian Association of Heritage Professionals. She's been working with us for a little over a year now, I think, and we're fortunate to have her on the team. She's got a lot of knowledge and expertise, and she leads us with a lot of the design and the hands-on work in the implementation of our various restoration projects. So because she's the expert here, she'll be walking us through the scope of the work. She's put this presentation together. We do welcome your questions after the presentation. So thank you very much, and I'll pass it over to you, Mackenzie.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. So as Jess mentioned, we have two sections of the house that we're looking at for the masonry restoration work. So I don't have access to the mouse. So James, if you want to start, oh, no, just go back one slide just to show what the summer kitchen is. So the summer kitchen is the original structure on the property. So if you could see there on the right-hand side, right beside the garage, that's the summer kitchen. So that's what we're looking at. And then the ballroom is adjacent on the second floor of the main house there. So if you want to, that was built in 1796. Let's go to the next one. So we're looking at two sections. So most of the work that we are looking at is repointing, but also, as Jess said, there is going to be some replacement of material just based on deterioration. So for the summer kitchen, we're focusing on the hearth. And then also a wall that needs to be repointed. And then for the ballroom, there is a chimney that was once, a hole that was put into that airflow into the chimney from external stove. So we're going to look at repointing the wall and fixing that hole. So if you want to go to the next slide. So right here, this is where the summer kitchen is in the house. So again, that's the original structure. So 1796. And then in 1802 to 1804 is when the rest of the house was built onto it. And then that garage was added around 1920s. So the hearth you could see is, I guess, is the main point that we're looking at there. If you want to go to the next one. So obviously the first step we're going to take is to clean the hearth. Obviously it hasn't been used in a while. So that's kind of the first step to take to ensure that the rest of the stone behind that is, we'll see how the mortar and the joints look, and then also the stone, and see how deteriorated that section is. Above, you can see that's where I highlighted the, right above the firebox there is a section where on the right-hand side, it was previously restored by the previous homeowner, and then on the left-hand side, it hasn't been touched yet. And when we took a mantle off of, we recently took the mantle off, and we were able to see the restoration that was done, and then how deteriorated the section that hasn't been touched yet is. So our main concern is to structurally, obviously fix that, and then to be able to use the space for programming and make it safe. So The mortar joints are pretty deteriorated, as you can see, and then the brick under, like right above. So obviously the from the flames and the soot has definitely deteriorated the brick that's right under the mantle. So that those bricks we're assuming are going to have to be replaced. And again, like Jess said, with materials from the site already. And then we have a period appropriate mantle that's going to be replacing the current mantle based on fire regulation. It has to be about 6 to 8 inches above the firebox. So we had to get a new mantle built. We are obviously keeping the old mantle, but we are getting a replacement. One by Doug Vickers, our heritage carpenter that we work with. If you want to go to the next one. So then the next section that we're looking at is the bake oven there. It was in the 1980s rebuilt by previous homeowner John Jupian. There used to be a door that was put in to be able to access the back door. So the family that previously lived there, they were sorting fruits and they needed a section to be able to take them out. So they took out that section of the wall and put a door in. So Jupian, the previous homeowner, rebuilt it and built the bake oven based off of heritage knowledge, but it wasn't necessarily like he didn't know exactly the dimensions and everything before. But with that, it's not for safety regulations, it's not safe to use it just yet. So what we're going to do is rebuild it. Patrick's going to, when he does take the rest of the sections apart, he's going to look into this and then see what will make it obviously safer to use. With that, it's not going to change the exterior finish, obviously. So although it's not original, it is somewhat heritage that we're going to consider heritage for Jupian's era. So we aren't going to change it based like the aesthetic of it, but we are just going to make it safer. So it's more of the interior that we're focused on changing with that. If you want to go to the next part. So this part is a part of the hearth floor that when I was in there doing plaster work, I stepped through. So previously in 2015, the exterior of the building adjacent to that corner there, there was a significant amount of masonry restoration that took place. So we're assuming it was based off of water damage. We're assuming that was the same damage that was caused, but it just wasn't noticed at the time. So what we're looking at is Patrick's going to restore that. It is very crumbly underneath, so we're just going to have to add some more grade underneath and regrade it and make it safer. Because again, if we use it for programming, we want it to be safe for anybody that's going to be in there, specifically kids. Yeah, if you go to the next one. So this section of the wall, we're looking at getting repointed. We want to match the aesthetic of the wall below the chair rail there. That section has been previously repointed. Jupian had restored it with drywall that was coming pretty much just apart and completely off of the wall. So when we were looking to fix it, a lot of it crumbled off. So we ended up getting that repointed and then using it as like a living exhibit. If anyone's been here since we did some of the restoration on the main floor, we have a section in the dining room that has the wall construction exposed, so you can see the accordion lath and the plank built wall. And it seems to be a hit with a lot of our visitors. So we would like to do the same thing with this wall and have it as a feature wall and show the construction. The reason why we think this is interesting specifically is because of, you can see where the window well is, and you can see above that, the header is exposed. So you can see that beam there, and then also the top plate from above, which is, again, pretty interesting for visitors to understand the building construction from that time period, which you don't obviously see in new builds now. So that's part of what we're looking at. So that's going to be repointed there to match the aesthetic below. You want to go to the next one? And then the next section that we're looking at is the ballroom. So specifically right there near the fireplace is where I'm going to go to the next. So before we add any new plaster up there, because this space needs to be significantly fixed with plaster repairs, we're going to look at the masonry. It has been exposed like that for over 20, 30 years. So it has some wear. And we're going to get Patrick to repoint whatever he thinks needs to be fixed, but also because of the chimney downstairs in the summer kitchen being that deteriorated, being used, we're going to look at if there's any stones that need to be fixed there, he's going to fix them. But also the chimney needs to be, or the hole, sorry, from the exhaust pipe needs to be filled and repointed. Next. So what we're looking at here is what materials we're going to use. Jess did mention we do have reclaimed heritage stones and bricks from the building itself, and then also any things that or any materials that we can't use based off of what we have. We're going to look for heritage material as well. We're not going to add any new, and we're going to use quicklime mortar to match the existing mortar that's already there. Any questions?
Sorry about that. I forgot that I was the chair. So if there are any questions, Maria?
Yes, thank you. Great presentation from the two women. I think it was Jessica that mentioned that the quote you've received from Ben Belson and acknowledging that he's done work for the Brown Homestead in the past and is very trustworthy and capable. You mentioned that his rates were very competitive. How many other quotes did you receive?
Mackenzie, I'm going to let you answer that one.
I would actually probably get Andrew too, because he dealt with that.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know if he's out of it. Is Andrew?
So Andrew, unfortunately, because he's a member of the committee, isn't able to chime in. He has to recuse himself from this item.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, so this information was given to Mackenzie and I in our conversations with Andrew. So at this point, I mean, it's really hard to find heritage masons to do this kind of work. Like, I know that it's been very difficult, and Patrick has been great for us, but because I don't know if we've been able to find other, what's from other people, I don't know. If we can't ask Andrew, then I'm sorry, I don't really have an answer for that.
That's okay, I appreciate it. I think I understand additionally that there is no requirement for the applicant to provide multiple quotes, but just to choose the correct specialist that meets their needs. Is that correct, James?
Yeah, so we don't ask for multiple quotes because it's not always, the lowest quote isn't necessarily the best one, right? So we will look at who provided the quotes and who the owner wants to go with, and make sure that they're a reputable company or contractor. And in this case, this is a mason that's had experience on this house. So
yes,
that's a nice bonus.
Yeah, he's worked on the chimney in the loft. He's worked on the dairy. He's done quite a bit of work on both the brick buildings or outbuildings and the actual John house itself, the stone house. So yeah, I'm sorry. I really wish I could have an answer for you for that.
That's okay. It's not essential. I fully appreciate the facility and the loving and caring work that's going into maintaining it. Could I just ask one additional question? Are you replacing the firebox or the bake oven, or are you rebuilding either one of them? I couldn't recall what I heard there in the summer kitchen.
We're not replacing it. We just have to, there's interior work that has to be performed on it, just based off of what Jupian had built it. It's not built to code, current code for it. Mm-hmm. So he is going to have to take it apart though, obviously from the front of it. Mm-hmm. And then, so it is going to be altered in a way, but we're not trying to change it aesthetically at all.
Looking forward to some freshly baked bread then in the future.
Yes, and some maybe pizza.
Yes.
We have to get Brian to come out and help us, teach us how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Bergen?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by how low the quote was when I first heard it. I thought, whoa, I've had a lot of masonry work done in my time. And I thought, I don't know what this guy's doing, but if it's replacing more than 4 bricks, that's actually a decent quote. So well done.
Oh, good. That's good to hear. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for any members? Okay, seeing
I have a question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, did you say you're rebuilding what John Jupian did?
Well, yeah, we're building the front. We're gonna have to rebuild the front of it just to get to the interior of it.
Right.
He built it from inside, obviously from inside out. So we're gonna have to take apart the face of it to be able to get to it.
Yeah, no, that's a good thing. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then you'll use compatible mortar, because we don't know. I don't know if he documented every repair that he did and what mortar he used. So
Yeah, we definitely. Patrick has worked on the house before, and he repointed some walls upstairs as well. So we're definitely going to go with matching the existing mortar, which he's done successfully in a different location. So
okay, and he used the hot mix upstairs as well. Is that what you're saying?
yes, yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions? So if not, I will put the motion up on the screen. Sorry, Al. There we go. So that the SCHAC approve a heritage grant for $5,000 for the proposed work at the Brown Homestead. Does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll be happy to make that motion.
Okay, thanks, Maria. And all in favor? Looks like everyone's in favor, so that's great. Okay, so thanks, Jess, and thanks, Mackenzie, and it was a great presentation. And yeah, I'll be in touch with both of you and Andrew about next steps.
Thank you, James.
Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, well, I will hand control over to Brian again to take over as chair for our next item.
I'm back. Okay, so moving on to I guess what 7.5, the Heritage Committee funds for 2023 and how to spend them. So I guess James, you are going to elucidate us.
Yeah, so through the chair. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Very, very quickly, my apologies to all. I have to leave a little bit early today. But thank you for your support on the application, and I'm sorry for ducking out on everyone.
Not a problem. Thanks, Andrew. So through the chair, so I've invited Adrian Petrie from the museum because essentially we have about $1,000 left in our commemoration budget to spend, and $1,000 doesn't get you very far nowadays. But we do have a program internally at the museum that Adrian can speak to, and I sent an email around to everybody about it with a link to the website, to the museum's website, the Heritage Insight or the History Insight program. And Adrian's going to speak a little bit to it. He's passed along some slides, and I think it'd just be best if Adrian explained to you what the program is and how our Heritage Committee can kind of feed into that, because it is a really interesting program. So I'll just get the slides up and then.
Hi, everybody. So yeah, the James idea was in terms of not just in terms of the amount of money that we have left, but also the time to spend it. And so we chatted briefly, and the easiest thing to do is to look at extending some of the installation that's downtown. So for those of you who aren't familiar with History Insight, definitely recommend you check it out. A little, next slide, James, a little, what's next? And just through these together to keep me on task and not rambling. So the scope of the project is a permanent site-specific installation. History Insight juxtaposes historical photographs with modern streetscapes by presenting the photo in or as close to the place which it was taken. The installation uses existing infrastructure. We'll talk about poles in a bit. And then a secondary layer of interpretation is available on the museum's blog featuring additional photographs and some additional interpretation. So the background for the project, it's been around for a little bit, but the permanent installation is somewhat new. We started doing a temporary installation in 2014 with the In the Soil Festival. And we did it on, you may remember, anybody who was around to see them, they were really, really big on A-frame signs, and we sort of chained them to a pole for the weekend and then took them away. And then the opportunity came to us during 2020 to start looking at making it a permanent installation. And so we kind of pivoted that way. And in 2021, we installed 11 panels downtown. Last year, 6 panels in Port Dalhousie. And this year, 6 panels in Meriton. And then next year, we're looking at extending a couple of those, as well as looking at Facer Street. But as you can imagine, there are some difficulties in terms of the museum's collection of photos and polls and all that stuff in terms of expanding projects. So next slide, James, for me. So a little example of what the project looks like in case you haven't seen it. If you can click on that link for me, James, that'd be great. My favorite sign is this picture of the bulletin being posted at the Standard Office announcing the assassination of Kennedy in 1963. So we posted our sign just across the street. So the photo is taken just on the other side of this car, but the closest we could get was across the street. And if you scroll down, so this gives you an idea of the sort of what we call layer 2, which is additional information. So the photographer took additional photos in the series. So on the street, you would only see the first photo, but if you scan the QR code that's on the sign, it'll take you to this page and you get additional interpretation and photographs and that kind of stuff with some, you know, very light level of interpretation. So if you want to navigate back to the slides for me, James, thank you.
Sorry, I'm going to start over.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that was a good idea. Just start over. It's all right. I threw you a curveball by giving you a link.
They lost your presentation, that's why.
Oh, that's okay.
James, sorry to interrupt everybody, but I have to also step out. I'm really sorry.
That's no problem, Holly. Thanks for letting us know. All right, we got it back. There we go.
That's not. Great. So as I mentioned, we have 11 panels downtown already. And so it's, and additionally, it's the easiest to add to at the moment. The infrastructure exists on the blog, and generally there's lots of polls to work with. So one suggestion I have just to get us started, we don't have to brainstorm today, but just one easy suggestion that I thought about for a while to add to the series downtown is the Old Queen Street YWCA. And you'll see in the next photo that there is a poll available for us to use. So that's happy. That's a rare occurrence where it can work. So that's great. And then in the next slide, we also have a couple of additional layer 2, what we call layer 2 photographs that we could put on the blog to supplement the interpretation. This particular photo is from 1941, the Lincoln and Welland Regiment, after using the Y, the paper says, for a swim, a shower, and using the recreation rooms, which is kind of cool. So that's just a very quick example, and considering the time that we have, the easier option, the easier route. If you want to go to the next slide, James, for me, thank you. So an additional note is that we've been doing these panels through our own budget for this. And so I just wanted to note that the panels that the committee pays for would be recognized on the panel and on layer 2. So they'd be part of the series, which is very exciting. And then the last slide will just quickly give you an idea of some of the action items that we're looking for, and James and I have discussed. It'd be great if the committee could select 5 to 6 photographs for consideration and maybe help out with some research. if possible. If not, that's okay. We can handle that too. We probably have enough money for 4 signs, so that I say 5 to 6, just so that we can pick from in case that there are issues with the polls or issues with the photos or the interpretation, or there's not enough information and stuff like that. And then we'll create and write and design and install the panels along with all the layer 2 information on the museum's blog, definitely for 4 signs before the end of the year, so that we can spend that money. And that's it. I'll leave it to you, James.
Thanks, Adrian.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Adrian?
I don't have any questions, but a suggestion for a location for something, if you wanted to, if you're looking for one, if you can get something, say, around the Church and James location, because then you could do the Carnegie Library, the Wright House, the old convent, and the Benson House, and that would be like a lot of bang for your buck, right at that corner.
Poles are tricky there, but we can't use traffic lights, so we will I'll have a look at that. I'm really looking for specific photos. It's not a general, just to remind everybody, it's not a general sort of heritage panel. It's really about taking that photograph and putting it in place. So yes, I would love some Church and James options, but I think we need something a little bit more specific for that. So I don't need answers today, but because it is October, I know it says September on the calendar, but that means it's October, that we'll need some ideas. So I find if you sleep on it, that's the best thing. Your dreams will give you ideas, and then tomorrow or in the next couple of weeks, you can send some ideas through. I have some other ideas as well. I just putting that together in short notice. So
the reason, of course, why I suggested those buildings is because they're all well photographed.
Yes.
And a lot of history about it. So I mean, it'd be an easy one to do, but anyway, we have other.
Yeah. So yes, I totally agree, but there's a poll issue there. So we'll have to look at that. Yeah.
Do you have questions for Adrian or comments? Lorraine.
First of all, Adrian, I love the project. As you know, I featured it in the Merton Matters, and it was a big hit. I just have a quick question. So you're looking for a very heavily trafficked area, correct?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm just thinking, I know the ones in Merton are on, fairly trafficked areas. Like there seems like they're very popular. So I was thinking of something sort of escarpment like Ball Avenue or something, one of those historic homes that are there. But I'm thinking that that's probably not well enough trafficked for you.
How I kind of go about it is I pick a bunch of photos that I would love and then see where the poles are. So
I do have a picture I love.
Okay, perfect. So there's like a whole list that have ended up on the cutting room floor, as it were, that just don't fit. And it happens that usually photos that are coming from the museum's collection are on busier roads for whatever reason, and then there's the poles to go with it. So the other thing is private residential properties are kind of tricky.
That makes sense.
I mean, not impossible, but just in the time that we have for 4 panels by the end of November, because we sort of have to stop spending money at that point. I again really thinking just about expanding downtown for this year, and then if of course we're continuing on next year with other places until we run out of places, I guess, or whatever. But and so I'm always happy to have ideas from the committee, and then I don't know what will happen in the future with budget if you find something else to spend all of the money on, and then you don't contribute next year, or you contribute the year after that, or whatever. So while I'm saying downtown this year, I'm not saying nowhere forever, if that makes sense.
Right, the Welland Canal also
Yeah.
struck me as a great spot, but
Yes,
okay,
yes, poles.
poles. Okay,
Poles.
I have to now start looking for poles. Okay,
I know I sound like a broken record, but poles. Yep. Poles that we
Anyways.
can use. So like regional traffic light poles we can't use, but hydro poles we're usually okay with. So depending on the pole, again. Anyway,
okay.
I know
Thanks.
I sound a little crazy. The pole guy. That's who I am now.
You actually have to get permission before you put a sign up. Like, let's say if it's a hydro pole,
Yeah.
you have to contact Hydro and say, hey, we want to put a sign up.
Generally, we have a city contact that takes care of that for us, and they sort of green light that particular pole. So,
Okay. Gail.
I hope you will take this with amusement. How about marking the oil fountain that once was, or the courthouse, old courthouse? Or
courthouse is great. We can check the pole there.
I'm
Yeah.
just, and so you just knocked the third one out of my mind by interrupting. Sorry. Watson Monument. I know these are all controversial, and I mean them as being all controversial. So there you go. I'm not going to say another word.
Great. They're on the list.
And the old Russell Hotel.
So yes, there are poles there. That's a good one.
That's controversial too.
It's in a sign already, but we could probably, there might be another angle that we could take. That would do. Yeah. Anyway, I don't, James, if you, oh, sorry, Maria.
Maria, you're on mute.
Hi, Adrian, it's Maria. So do I understand you correctly that in your budget with the museum, you have enough money for 4 signs?
No. So we've done our project this year from our budget. So we're wrapped up 2023 for this particular project. James is suggesting that the Heritage Committee has 1,000 left.
Yeah.
So based on that number, we can do 4 signs. Now, 4 signs is 2 copies of each for a replacement in case of graffiti or damage, and the hardware to go along with it. So it's technically 8 pieces plus the hardware.
Right. Okay. I see. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So we would have to have a motion first, right, James?
Yeah, so we'll pass a motion suggesting that essentially that this is where we want to dedicate the funds to. We don't have to pick the locations today. As Adrian said, it might be, what I'll do is I'll circulate, I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but the museum has a really good kind of picture database. So what I'll do is I'll send the link around to everybody. If you want to just go on there for a little bit and take a look at what they have, maybe you'll see some photos that interest you, and we can flag them and then pass it along to Adrian. And kind of go from there, and we'll pick the best spots based on polls and everything else, right? So
yeah, maybe too, if you haven't seen the installation downtown, go on the blog and check out what's already up, so that you don't do a bunch of research and pick a photo and then we've already covered it.
Yeah, I circulated the link previously, but I'll make sure that that's included with the package that I send out.
Or go walk downtown too. You can walk.
Lorraine?
So is the motion going to say in the downtown area then? Because Adrian seems pretty certain that that's where it's going to go.
It can say downtown if we want, or we could just for now leave it open-ended. But I think because of the content and the amount of time we have available to us, I think it sounds like downtown is kind of the easiest route to take. And so we don't have to necessarily put that in the motion, but I think it's probably better to just say we're devoting $1,000 of our funds to this project, and we'll figure out the details after that.
So I would prefer that we don't say downtown, and then I'm going to throw ideas at Adrian that may
great.
not be downtown, or it could be downtown.
Really, the idea of downtown was that there's just the plethora of images, but Meriton and Portaluzzi infrastructure online already exists, so we can add to those series as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Adrian? Not to take Brian's shot for him. Sorry, Brian.
You took the words right out of my mouth. If we have no further questions or comments, then I guess we have to have a motion to spend the money.
I'll make it.
on the screen now.
And it doesn't mention downtown, so that will make Lorraine happy. Okay, Gail, were you making the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all in favor of the motion?
We're good.
We're done.
I have one more question. Sorry, I know it's late, but so Adrian, if you don't spend all the $1,000, would you take anything that was left over for future or for future?
Yeah, let's say you give me
inside?
10. If you give me 10 and they all work, we'll have to pick 4 just because of the money. And then I can use those ideas for next year for an addition or in a future year anyway, for an addition to those series. Yeah.
And will it take exactly 1,000?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the cutting off.
Something like 900 something. So I gotta come in under, obviously, not over. So it won't be 1,000 on the dot, but nine something. Yeah.
Yeah, and if we end up with, if it's $950 and we have $50 left over, unfortunately, we'll lose it at the end of the year, but $50 probably wouldn't get us very far anyways. So yeah, we'll have done a good job, I think, to get us close to 5,000 as possible.
Thank you.
We get coffee and donuts out of the 50.
It is your money to spend. No,
Okay. So moving right along, item 7.6, museum update. Adrian?
Oh, considering time, I didn't really prepare much in terms of that. So your meeting's already like, I don't know.
Overdue.
Record? Is it a record?
Adrian, if you want, we can invite you back next time.
Yeah, come back. If anybody has questions for me, maybe that are urgent, you can send me an email, or I'll come back at the next meeting too, if there's time.
Okay. Sounds good. We don't need a motion for that, do we?
No, I think we're okay.
Okay. I guess we're doing updates, subcommittee updates for designations. Andrew's not here.
Andrew's not here, but he asked if I could speak to it. Adrian, you're welcome to
cool.
go.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Bye.
Yeah, so we'll do the designations subcommittee update. So Andrew asked if I could do that. So essentially at our last meeting, we looked at the rubric that we came up with for evaluating properties as part of the prioritization project to prioritize the properties that are outside of the downtown core for designation. So we ended up looking at, originally we were going to look at 15 Henrietta. There's some complicated stuff going on with 15 Henrietta, so we decided not to look at that one. Instead, we looked at 3 Elizabeth Street, which is just outside the downtown core, really interesting property. And so we had all 5 members, myself, all evaluated it, and we kind of just went through our rubric and just talked about why we rated things a certain way, just to make sure that all the ratings kind of worked and it made sense to everybody. And actually, it was pretty successful. I thought it went really well. We didn't have to make too many tweaks actually to the rubric. And I think Lorraine at the last meeting asked if I could walk everybody through it. I can do it quickly. I don't want to take too much time for everybody, but I'll just put it up on my screen and I'll walk you through it.
If you want to hold it till next time, that's fine, James, if whatever you prefer.
Yeah, it's up to you. Basically what I can explain is essentially what we were doing is the rubric looks at Ontario Regulation 906, which is all the different criteria for designation. And it just gives a point system essentially for meeting certain criteria. So the criteria basically is out of about 60 points total. And if you meet a certain one of the criteria, you'll get points. And the goal is to kind of figure out, okay, from a point system basis, which are the most significant properties. I can actually circulate the rubric to everybody if that would be helpful, just to let everybody know. But the way that we're going to actually do it is through a Google form. And I'll put that up on the screen because I think that's actually interesting to look at. So yeah, so we have this Google form, essentially. It's a survey form, and each of the members has access to this. And they essentially just fill out every question. So just street name, your evaluator, and then talks about the different criteria. So it runs through each of the criteria and has just things like check boxes, or you can fill in with a longer answer if you'd like to. And then essentially at the end of this, there's an opportunity to add photos if you'd like of the properties that you were assigned. and that all gets immediately sent to me. There's a database in behind the scenes that basically accumulates all the answers in an Excel spreadsheet for me really easily. And then I'm going to behind the scenes kind of do all the math and figure out, which properties kind of rise to the top. Our plan is to try to get through, each of us has about 25 properties to do. I have 60 to do, but all the members have 25 roughly, give or take. And the goal is to have it done by Christmas. So that way in January, we can talk about prioritizing them and figuring out, whether or not there are any that, maybe we're undervalued or overvalued, and have a conversation about that. And then over the next year plus, we'll be looking at designating those properties. So it's a lot of work for the committee members to do. So the subcommittee members, they seem very eager, and they did a good job on the first trial. It went really smoothly and worked really well, and everything worked as expected, at least in terms of the form and everything. So I think we're on the right path, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll be able to have all of our properties prioritized, and we'll have a good direction for 2024 in terms of designations.
Gail, you've got a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm sorry, but I've had to go back and forth, and I've missed quite a bit of this meeting because it's so long. Could you tell me about what you said about Henrietta Street and the committee not looking at it at this time? Could you repeat that?
So originally we were going to look at we were going to use that as our kind of test case, just because it was fresh on everybody's mind. We'd all just looked at the property as part of the list, proposed listing. So it made sense from that perspective. I've had a conversation with the owner, and there's a lot of kind of complicated elements. I can only share so much really at this time, but it would just add complications to be using that as a test case. So it was much cleaner to use a property that didn't have those added elements. And so instead we looked at a property on Elizabeth Street, which was already on our inventory or on our register, and there were no additional complications then.
So it's on the register.
Which one? Sorry.
25
the 15 Henrietta. 15 Henrietta is not on the register yet. So essentially what happened was the committee voted in favor of recommending that it be added to the register, but it has to go to council. So I then reached out to it has to go to council to be actually added to the register.
Okay.
So that hasn't happened yet. Essentially, I've had a conversation with the owner, because the owner called me the next day after our previous meeting. And it's a really complicated kind of situation in terms of what's happening with the building right now and who's buying it next. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot of layers to it.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We haven't brought anything to council yet. I'm hoping that we can have the owner or the next owner, depending on what actually is happening, have them come to one of our meetings, because council's going to ask if the owner has been in touch with the Heritage Committee, and so it's important to bring them here. So I'm hopefully going to have that lined up for the next one, and we'll kind of go from there. So, but it's a complicated issue just because the sale happened.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Okay, any other questions for James? And seeing none, then I guess we should have a motion to receive your report.
Yep, that would be great.
So does someone wish to make the motion?
I'll make it.
I saw Mark's hand go up first.
Okay, Mark's okay. Good.
I gotta be quick. So all in favor? Okay. So I guess if there's nothing else, then our next meeting, as noted in the agenda, is November 2nd at 2:30. And that being said, I guess we need a motion to adjourn. My clock says it's 4:50. Gail, do you want to make a motion to adjourn?
Sure, I'll make the motion. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Gail. All
All
in
right.
favor of that? Done. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in November.
Thanks all. Take care.
Bye.